Pokemon abilities were introduced in the Generation 3 games. They're one of the additions that add so much depth to battling. Likewise, in Gen 2, hold items were introduced which allow Pokemon to do things like heal or boost their stats. These were sort of like the original gimmicks, and as the gens pass, more and more items and abilities are introduced. What I noticed is that there's a pretty sizable overlap between certain items and abilities, ones that do the exact same thing and ones that are very similar. So I wanted to go over each of these and see the interactions, as some of these even synergize with each other, while others would be pointless to use at the same time. How's it going, buds? We're going to start with items that directly mimic abilities and review the most common and well-known ones. First, we have the items Razor Claw and Scope Lens. These increase the user's critical hit chance by 1 stage. It's not a bad item necessarily, as it changes your crit chance from 1 in 24 to 1 in 8, but that is still pretty unreliable to take up your item slot. However, when you add it with the ability Super Luck, it has the same effect of giving your crit chance a 1 stage boost, we are suddenly looking pretty spicy. A mon with the ability Super Luck that is holding one of these items will have a 50% chance to crit an attack. To top it off, if you use a move with a higher crit chance, you will always crit your moves. It's worth noting that the Farfetch'd line's signature item Leak and Chansey's Lucky Punch give a +2 crit ratio for these mons. What can be even more critical than critting your opponent? Flinching them down. Looking at you, Jirachi and Togekiss. If your mon is holding King's Rock or Razor Fang and hits the opposing mon with an attack first, you will have a 10% chance to flinch them and they will be unable to move. The ability Stench has the same effect as these items, but you've probably never seen this ability happen in battle, as the ability isn't widely distributed. And most of the mons who get it aren't very fast, and the mons who get Stench also have more useful abilities. The cool thing about these items is each hit of a multi-hit move gives an independent flinch chance, which lets mons like Cloyster and Cincino with Skill Leak abuse these items until they were banned for too much hacks and RNG, soiling this otherwise non-luck based game. Sadly, a mon with Stench cannot stack this effect with King's Rock or Razor Fang. But do you even need a flinch when you can just one-shot your opponent? Choice Band is an item that boosts a Pokemon's attack stat by 50% when held. The downside is only the first move selected can be used until you switch out or lose the item. Galarian Darmanitan's signature ability, Guerrilla Tactics, mimics this directly by giving it a 50% attack boost and limiting it to this first move used. What's cool is that you can stack a Choice Band onto Darm with Guerrilla Tactics for what works out to be a 225% boost to the attack stat. I didn't do the math here, I'm just taking Bulbapedia's word for it and hoping that checks out. But this combo did get Darm banned to Ubers for being absurdly stupid strong. What isn't absurdly strong is the next ability, Stall, the signature ability of Sableye. I'm sure when you were doing your Gen 3 playthroughs, you caught the cool Dark Ghost Sableye and wondered why it was so damn slow. Well, this ability makes the user always move last in his priority bracket regardless of speed, which is not really ever used when you have an amazing prankster ability right there. But the item Lagging Tail and Full Incense have the same effect, as they cause the holder to move last in the priority bracket. At least the items can be tricked onto an opponent for some utility, while Stall kinda just sits there as a trash ability you would never want to have. Now, an ability you would want to have recently had an item introduced that mimics its effect. I'm talking about Shield Dust, an ability that prevents secondary effects from attacks. That means a mon with this ability doesn't worry about Scald Burns, Air Slash Swinches, or Shadow Ball Spadef drops. Pretty much an anti-hacks ability that is exclusive to frail bug types. The Covert Cloak is an item introduced in Gen 9 that does the same thing. It blocks additional effects from happening to your mon. A pretty great item if you ask me. A less great, but still decent item introduced in Gen 9 is the Clear Amulet, which prevents the holder from having its stats lowered from other mon's moves or abilities like Intimidate. This has the same effect as the abilities Clear Body, White Smoke, and Full Metal Body. There are some technicalities with this item and the abilities like stat resetting moves like Haze and Clear Smog, and Mold Breaker can break through Clear Body and White Smoke to lower stats, but cannot break through Clear Amulet and Full Metal Body. Which is pretty cool that Solgaleo's ability isn't just a carbon copy of those two abilities. The last ability that is the same as an item is Decidueye's signature ability, Long Reach. This essentially protects the user's contact moves from those nasty effects of abilities like Flame Body and Rough Skin. They won't proc the item Rocky Helmet either.
Nope.
Protective Pads, a pretty uncommon item introduced in Gen 7, does the same thing as Long Reach. We pretty much only saw this item used on Rapid Strike Urshifu and Melmetal to prevent mons like Ferrothorn and Toxapex switching in and wearing them down with Iron Barbs and Rocky Helmet. So those are abilities and items that function the same. What I want to cover now are items that function pretty much the same as abilities, but are just slightly different. A popular item in competitives is the air balloon. It prevents the holder from being hit with ground type moves, being affected by certain terrain effects, or being hurt by spikes and getting sticky web speed drops. This is the same effect as the ability Levitate, except when a Pokemon with air balloon gets hit, the balloon pops and no longer protects from ground moves. Pop this on a Rotom fan though, and you have the ultimate ground counter, even though gravity counters all of these. I'd stick with Pecha Berry Stunfisk on this one personally. Rattling off some quick ones here, the ability Rattled works similar to the Adrenaline Orb item. It raises the user's speed stat when intimidated. Rattled just also can activate multiple times, and also activates when hit by a bug, dark, or ghost type move. Grass Pelt works like the item Grassy Seed. Grass Pelt gives a 50% defense boost in grassy terrain, while Grassy Seed gives a +1 to defense. The main difference though is the Grassy Seed's boost will stay active as long as the mon is on the field, whereas the Grass Pelt mon will lose the boost as soon as grassy terrain is gone. The Spotfur's ability, Opportunist, allows it to copy an opposing mon's stat boost if they are both active when the stat boost occurs. The item Mirror Herb, introduced in the same gen, also does this. The difference being Mirror Herb gets consumed after one use, while Opportunist can proc multiple times. Wide Lens is an item that grants a 10% accurate boost to the holder's moves. Victini's Victory Star ability gives a 10% boost as well, but this also applies to its allies, making it just a better version. It can also stack on itself, which I didn't know previously. Now we're going to finish with a few more popular items you may know. Probably the most used on this list in tandem is a Rocky Helmet paired with Rough Skin or Iron Barbs. This punishes contact moves by dealing chip damage. The Rocky Helmet deals 1/6 total HP, while Rough Skin and Iron Barbs deal a bit less, doing 1/8. They work essentially the same though, and are a good tandem. A less ideal tandem is the item Focus Sash on a mon with Sturdy. A Focus Sash will let any Pokemon at full HP live on 1 HP if it would normally be KO'd by a single attack. The Sash is then consumed and cannot be used again. Sturdy on the other hand has the same effect, but can be activated multiple times as long as the mon is at full HP. Oh, and it also has another niche effect of blocking one-hit KO moves like Fisher and Sheer Pull. But we don't see that too often besides the recent Fisher Ting-Lu. An ability that can break through Sturdy is Skill Link, as it allows multi-hit moves to always hit the maximum amount of times. The new item, Loaded Dice, introduced in Gen 9, almost does this as well. I love you. A holder will have its multi-hit moves hit either 4 or 5 times, which is pretty good, but not quite as good as Skill Link. Although you do get to potentially use a different ability in synergy with this item. The last ability on this list is one of my personal favorites, and it is the Quick Claw. This item is pure luck as it gives the user a 20% chance to move first in his priority bracket regardless of speed. In Gen 8, Galarian Slowbro gained an ability that is a buffed version of Quick Claw called Quick Draw. This gives Slowbro a 30% chance of moving first. And the coolest part is you can let Slowbro with Quick Draw hold a Quick Claw to stack the chance of moving first to 44%. Did I forget any abilities and items? Do you have any items you'd like to see added that act like abilities? Maybe some earmuffs that give the soundproof effect? Or an ability that acts like weakness policy? Leave a comment below. I love reading and replying to the comments on these discussion videos. You guys crushed my goal of 100 subscribers by the end of the year, so I wanted to thank all of you for being here. My new goal for end of the year is to hit 500 subscribers, which is optimistic, but even if 10% of people not subscribed watching this subscribed, we could do that in a day. Thanks for watching, buds, and I'll see you next time.